Now, before getting UX design offers from both Amazon and IBM, there was a lot of work and things to prepare for beforehand. I got some things right, but I definitely made some mistakes on the other hand. So I'll be sharing with you my interview experience with these companies just to give you some more insight on preparing for your interviews with them as well. But before receiving the final offer letters, the process goes back all the way to the beginning, the foundation of your skills, that being the portfolio. So with this portfolio, I was told by previous mentors to have at least 2 case studies on your website, but ideally 3 is best. Not put any work you are not proud of on your website. And with these case studies, if they are not real-world experience, the prompts for these case studies should be as innovative as possible. As my previous UX mentor from Google would tell me with a very straight face, the world does not need another food delivery or shopping app. For example, when I was doing my own research of these innovative case studies, I've seen projects, for example, creating a news app for Gen Z, or a project that helps people with dementia retain their memories better. And overall, my tip for creating these case studies is to focus on a very specific target user group. And the more specific the audience, the better. As for example, with my project that I presented, ONNIT, it was specifically for goal-oriented college students. And if you want to know how to build your UX portfolio website, feel free to check out my video here. Now, when that's done, it's finally time to apply. So there's a couple ways you can go about this. If there are specific companies you are looking for, you can go onto their careers website and directly apply from there. But personally, what I like to do and what I've done was I went onto LinkedIn and put in email notifications to notify me whenever the term UX design popped up. And that's how I found out when Amazon and IBM were recruiting. So some companies have really specific dates when they would roll out positions, but since this was more for internship, I was expecting them to roll out in, say, October, November for you to apply. So most times, although you could expect a specific month, it's always best just to keep your eyes peeled, turn on email notifications, and keep a watchful eye to see when they come up. So afterwards, when you submit your application, this is my perspective on how you get selected by a recruiter. So from what I've heard previously, a recruiter will go onto your portfolio website and they will not spend more than 1 to 2 minutes on your website. So since first impressions are really good, when I was creating mine, I made sure to have good UI, have nice visuals that I made on Figma, good typography, and overall making them think that you're a person that seems to know what they're talking about. And you want overall, it's like making the recruiter think, quickly scrolling through your website, does this person seem like they know what they're talking about? And if I push them through, will they be able to do equally as well if they built out this case study website into a more full deck presentation? Plus, if you want to know how to structure and lay out your own case study, feel free to check out my video here above. Also, another tip is if you have any real-world experience, and even if it's for like a smaller startup company that's sort of well-known, like Colgate that I've done, Neutrogena, Nintendo, have that as the forefront project of your website just to catch the recruiter's attention. This also helps because I was speaking to another recruiter from FANG, and they said how they search for portfolios is they use a specific portfolio algorithm to search for portfolios. So if you do have any company experience, it's really beneficial to have that on your website so these algorithms can easily find you. So afterwards, if you are lucky enough to grab the recruiter's attention, you move on to the final interview process. There were 2 major rounds for both Amazon and IBM, and for each they're about 45 minutes to an hour each, with a 15-minute break in between. So first there is a mini screening round where you don't really talk to anybody. For both of these companies, they're just going to send you a few emails asking about your general work experience, where you're interested in working, and some general questions about your work and identity. If you pass the screening, which you most likely will, then you'll be moved on to the first major round of the interview, that being the portfolio walkthrough. This is very standard for all UX design interviews, so it's a very integral part of the process. Now, to cover what projects that I presented, so for both of these companies, I prepared a slide deck of my ONNIT case study that I created back at my Springboard bootcamp, and also prepared a slide deck of my Colgate internship back in the summer. By the way, if you are also interested in taking a UX bootcamp and felt Springboard was good for you, feel free to use my code Sharon Kim to get $1,000 off your UX design tuition. Link in the description box below. Now, in regards to this portfolio review, for Amazon, you are asked to present 2 to 3 case studies in front of 1 Amazon designer. while IBM, they ask you to only present one case study, but in front of 3 designers. For myself, since I had 2, for both Amazon, I presented 2, but for Amazon, although they only asked for 1, I presented both as well. I timed myself to squeeze both projects within that 45-minute presentation. And you can find the exact slide deck that I used for ONNIT, plus my full Figma working file in my website link down in the description below. So to actually build this slide deck, what I've done was reference 5 other slide decks I found via other designers' websites, linked in researching, and try to figure out how they structured it, then take that structure and apply it again with my own twist. Plus, just to save some time, I reused some of the visuals I made on Figma in my website case study and just transferred that onto the slide deck I made in Google Slides. From studying these other slide decks, I noticed that they usually start off with an introduction of the project, followed by an overview, the initial project brief, then research, brainstorming, struggles you went through throughout the design process, followed by the final product. And really the best thing that I felt helped me create my own slide decks was reference as many other slide decks as possible and write speaker notes down in Google Slides to help you practice the flow of your presentation. Now, just for the Amazon portfolio walkthrough, after you present your 2 to 3 case studies to them, you take a short 15-minute break, then go straight into round 2 of the interview, that being the behavioral interview. This behavioral interview is just another 45 minutes where they ask you situational questions about past experiences you had and how you handled it. And with this interview, you can be asked things like, tell me about a time you went above and beyond for a customer. Or tell me about a time you thought you were right about a design decision, but you were proven wrong, and how did you react to it? To prepare for this, what I found really helpful was referencing their Amazon leadership principles and relating them to as many experiences you have on hand. On the flip side, if IBM decides to pass you for the portfolio review, a few days later you are emailed a design challenge that you have to complete within 1 week, then present to the same 3 IBM designers within 1 hour. If you want to see my exact IBM design challenge, feel free to click the video up above. And same thing to prepare for this. How I went about it was I just Googled a ton of other examples, see what others have done with their design challenges. I read through all of them. I try to follow their reasoning of why they approached it in that way. Then I would go back and apply my own logic towards it before wrapping it all up into a nice presentation to present later. So you've done the portfolio walkthrough, you've done the behavioral interview for Amazon, and you've done the design challenge for IBM. Afterwards, I guarantee you are going to be very tired. I remember being super mentally exhausted just trying to prepare everything and creating the slide decks and stuff, so definitely do take a break for a second. This is not necessary, but I always made sure to send up a follow-up email to both teams just to show my appreciation, and also within this email, I would link both my website again and all of my slide decks. I would make another copy of these slide decks and delete all the speaker notes and would link that into this email so they can easily reference it again. And if you feel comfortable, I would suggest you consider this as well, to also make your Figma design file public and attach that exact file in this email so they can see the raw design files that you've done and see like all the iterations and cool things that you've done. Sometimes I feel they like to see the struggle of designing rather than the final outcome. So thankfully enough, because I prepared and I did all the steps to the best of my ability, I was shortly given offers to join both teams this upcoming summer. And looking back, I just wish I would have practiced a little more because I'm just a very anxious person and kind of rambling through your presentation isn't a good look. So I just wish I would have practiced a little more if I were to do it again. But otherwise, approaching this project, I always thought, who are the people who have achieved what I want to achieve? How do they do it? And just modeling what they've done has helped me a lot, and I believe could help you too. All this to say, I really believe as soon as you set a goal, believing that everything is figure-outable through thorough Google researching, time, and patience can really help you in your process to get to wherever you want to go. So if you have any questions or future content that you'd like to see, do let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.